Drohon stands boldly among the Torak army, now his enemies. They stare him down in vile hatred, and all feel completely betrayed.
A message from Madam, spoken like a resistance sympathizer. My brothers, I will bring honor to our Lord Badel Denagon by executing this traitor. I challenge you, Drohon, one warrior to another.
Cheers ring out in favor, and Drohon has no choice but to accept. He readies his weapon. Jaren charges him. They have a brutal fight, with neither managing to land more than a single occasional blow, given how equally matched they are. Jaren burns with determination and lust for power, while Drohon defends himself, full of outrage and contempt. The two continue to fight for a while, until Jaren begins to get the upper hand over the worn-down Drohon. Jaren pushes Drohon back against an empty stake, where one of the resistance prisoners had died earlier, and their swords lock. Jaren pushes Drohon down and prepares to land the killing blow. However, Eris then runs up to Jaren, still invisible but audible, and slashes his dominant arm with a dagger, causing Jaren to sneer in pain and drop his weapon. From the perspective of the crowd, Jaren suddenly sustained a significant injury without cause, and panic starts to boil. Eris, still invisible, then tackles Jaren and slams him against the stake, knocking him unconscious, though Eris assumes he's dead.
What is this? Could it actually be Medam's judgment?
This is a thought that many share, but no one dares ask aloud. Amidst the chaos, Drohon grabs his weapon and cuts Marx's ropes. Marx falls to his knees and struggles to get up. The crowd begins to apprehend him, but stop dead in their tracks when another Torak automatically dies and falls to the ground. In reality, they were attacked by Eris, but all they see are wounds forming on the soldiers' necks and them collapsing. For both Eris and whatever she is holding remain invisible. Drohon grabs Marx and forces him to run away from the camp, but Marx drags his legs on the ground to make them stop.
We can't leave the others.
This is our only chance!
Marx ignores this, forces himself up, and runs back toward the chaos. The Torak soldiers fire arrows around them in hopes of stopping whatever phantom is assailing them, but Eris is able to evade them. Eris then runs toward the prisoners and unties one. They fall off their stake, weak and beaten. But when they realize that the phantom is touching them, they start to freak out and crawl away in desperation. Eris makes herself visible to calm them down, and this alerts her presence to the crowd.
Damn!
Eris grabs the hand of the freed Medamite and makes them both invisible. They get up and start to run away, but arrows fire, and one hits Eris's leg, so she collapses and lets go of the Medamite. Eris turns to see the rest of the Torak soldiers coming for them, and she briefly is panicked. They fire arrows, and Eris, still being quite agile, is able to dodge while an arrow pierces the other Medamite, killing him instantly. However, the crowd stops for a moment as one of the nearby huts erupts in flames, as Drohon set fire to it with a torch. Drohon shouts for Eris to get away, so she becomes invisible and runs away as fast as she can with her injured leg, carefully avoiding arrows as she does. Marx takes this opportunity to come up to the crowd, grab one of the soldiers' swords out of its sheath, and kill them with it. The crowd moves to face Marx, so he turns and runs away with the sword. Some of the soldiers pursue Marx, breaking up the crowd a bit. Marx's pursuers follow him behind some huts, but Drohon and Eris appear and dispatch them. Marx nearly faints from exhaustion, so Eris catches him and also grabs Drohon's hand to make them both invisible with her. More soldiers arrive, and they start swinging their swords randomly, knowing the interlopers must be nearby. They get closer and closer, so Drohon hastily breaks formation and runs away shouting. Many of the soldiers go after him, so both Eris and Marx do the same and go in different directions, further segmenting their pursuers. Drohon gets out of the camp and runs through the forest with all his strength. He trips and then removes his chest plate to make himself faster. Marx grabs a torch on his way out and throws it down on the mulchy forest floor. It ignites, and he runs away. He is able to outpace the flames, unlike his pursuers, and he quickly circles back to find Eris. Eris, however, grabs him and pulls him to the ground under some brush, making him invisible. The two wait there for a while the flames get closer, and then they both get up, become visible, and take off. Of course, it's easier to run without having to hold someone's hand, especially in the woods. Drohon runs away from the camp in a different direction. Suddenly, he stops and tries to catch his pursuers off guard. He kills one or two and does his best to fight off the rest, but they slash him multiple times and he begins to go down. Only in the nick of time is he saved by Eris and Marx, who appear and finish off the rest of the guards. Horns are blared, signaling that more soldiers are coming. However, the burning forest gives them all quite the advantage, and they run further away from the camp until they reach a river connecting to a waterfall. They study the waterfall and notice a ledge that they can all jump down on and hide. They do so, and Eris veils them. More Torac forces arrive, but they do not see the trio. However, the Toracs wait there for a while to catch when the three start moving. So, Eris, Marx, and Drohon wait for hours and slowly creep away from their starting point, the sound of their footsteps masked by the roaring water. They do this until the Torac forces finally give up and leave, returning to the ruins of their camp demoralized. Arguments are overheard of whether or not they should wait longer, but all agree that it's pointless to try and outlast an invisible foe.
They're still down there. We've waited for hours. They must be gone. The constable won't be pleased.
Eris, Marx, and Drohon give it a little more time to make sure the Torac forces are really gone. And then they climb back up and begin walking away from the river, waterfall, and fire. They eventually find a land bridge over the river and escape to the other side. They then keep going until they find a spot where they can all sit down and rest. All three are injured, shocked, and afraid, so they do not say much. Sleep escapes them, so all they do is lie down until evening, then night, and then morning. At this, Drohon gets up, walks away to be alone, and stares past the river at the charred remains of the forest and the Torac camp in the distance. There is no turning back. Jaren is helped to his feet by his men. He sustained a moderate head injury, but insists that he is fine. He then holds his arm and sees the dagger wound. His men wrap up his arm and escort him back to his quarters to rest his head. He accepts tea but refuses any food, unable to settle his stomach. Jaren then orders his fellow officers to come see him.
Constable.
At ease. With Drohan's betrayal, the task of leading this army falls to me. I trust each and every one of you will continue to serve me as faithfully as you have until now.
Of course, my champion.
Someone has found and obtained the powers of the Every Stone, and it wasn't the next Titus. That is the only explanation for this phantom that attacked us. But if the stone has been found and used once again, that means our master's strength is growing.
The officers look to each other in awe, the weight of the situation becoming apparent.
Execute the rest of the Medamite prisoners. I suspect we will no longer need them. Dismissed.
The officers exit Jaren's quarters, leaving him alone to think and wait.